Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Or you can subscribe to the channel, click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Before I begin, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that supports this channel. If you're watching the videos, commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing the videos, you know, that all-important share and that all-important clicking the notifications button so you get a ping to your phone every time a new video is uploaded. I'm so grateful to you guys. We've reached a milestone of 2,000 subscribers. So thanks so much. I hope I can continue to bring content that you guys are enjoying. I want to say a massive thank you to Hatman. In particular, I feel like I'm collecting an award. I want to thank other people of the world. But yeah, massive thank you to Hatman because, listen, I had like 500-600 subscribers when Hatman first started sort of promoting my channel. There's no other way to put it. He's been so complimentary, telling people to follow and stuff like that. He's been, you know, talking about how highly he rates the technical breakdowns and stuff like that. And honestly, it's for someone whose opinion I trust and respect so much, it's always a buzz to hear that. And just to, you know, so flattering, and to put it into perspective for you, to show you just the sort of type of person Hatman is. He did a video a while back, and I'm going to paraphrase here from memory, so if I'm not got it word for word, forgive me, but the general gist of this applies. He was approached by somebody that was involved in making or promoting, somebody involved in the Hughie Fury-Joseph Parker fight. And they said to Hatman, they offered him some sort of rewards for promoting the fight on his channel, on his platform. I think he was offered tickets, maybe ringside tickets, a meet and greet. I think maybe even a hotel in London, overnight hotel, stuff like that. And Hatman said he didn't even bother replying to the email because Hatman has spent so long building up what is a very successful platform and channel, over 71,000 subscribers he's got. And so he sees it as, look, you wouldn't approach a regular news outlet and just say to them, I'll give you some ringside tickets. You know, I want to be monetarily compensated, so to speak. You know, treat me with the same sort of respect you treat any other business. And he didn't even reply to the email. So that tells you the sort of principles Hatman's got and how seriously he takes his channel when it comes to what to promote. I mean, after all, he's a boxing channel. He would have spoken about that fight anyway. So he could have just seen it as, you know what, it's no skin off my back. Whatever, cool. I'll get a free night in a hotel. I'll get ringside tickets, meet and greet. I don't know, you know, might even get an interview for the channel. I know he doesn't do that sort of thing, but he might have seen it as an opportunity to discuss something with Hughie or Joseph Parker. He didn't, on sheer principle. And with me giving the guy absolutely nothing in return, he has gone out on a limb and basically promoted this channel time and time again. And listen, I'm so genuinely, I'm moved by it. Honestly, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Hatman, if you're watching. Also, I want to say thank you to G-Man as well, because G-Man, on his channel, G-Man Boxing, he has spoken about my channel on a couple of occasions. And he once said he could listen to me talk all day. He would even listen to me talking about making a sandwich. So one day, I'm going to do a little technical breakdown video about how to make the perfect fried egg sandwich just for G-Man. How to apply that butter in out of southpaw stance when that hot oil's bubbling on the frying pan and it's flying in your face. How you switch to a southpaw stance that flies straight over your shoulder. All that good stuff. One day, G-Man, don't worry about that. But thank you, everybody, really, genuinely. Now, all of you guys, by the way, everyone that's taken the time to comment, share the videos, all that stuff. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Now, let's move on to the actual boxing. Wow, man, some big breaking news. Deontay Wilder, according to Mark Kriegel, and this has now been reported in various news outlets, including the Daily Sport, the Athletic, Michael Benson, that it has been reported that Deontay Wilder has won the arbitration case for a trilogy fight against Tyson Fury, meaning the fight would have to take place by September the 15th. Which would obviously place an August 14th fight against Anthony Joshua in major doubt. Now, obviously one option is to give Deontay Wilder step-aside money. It would have to be pretty significant knowing that the money's involved here. He could end up holding these guys to ransom. So they might not be willing to do that, in which case, you know, who knows? You know, let's say he's asking for something crazy like 20 million, right? If you're making 75 million, if you're Tyson Fury, You're really going to leave 20 million on the table and walk away with 55 million? Just give it to him? It's a lot of money, man. So there might be, I don't know, a temptation to delay the undisputed fight rather than pay step-aside money to step in the ring with Deontay Wilder. After all, Tyson Fury will look at it from this perspective. He'll say, I blatantly won the first fight and they robbed me. And if they didn't rob me, we wouldn't have this issue now, because the second fight would have been the rematch and I would have knocked him out in the rematch and then we could have focused on the undisputed. However, in the second fight, I walked him down, beat him up and stopped him. In the first fight, I only tried standing with him on 2 occasions. The first one was in the first round, right at the end of the first round, where we started to exchange hooks. And Deontay Wilder staggered back to his corner. Go check that replay out. He's a bit wobbly on his way back to the corner, and Tyson Fury raises his arms and starts hopping on his feet because he feels, I'm putting a beating on this guy. Then it was after he got knocked down and it seemed like he was going to be knocked out, the second knockdown. And he went to Deontay Wilder, he stepped to him, and he won the rest of that round. And he has always said, when I stepped to him in that second part, he's never mentioned the first round, I'm mentioning that, but in that second part, after he'd been knocked down, where he stepped to Wilder, he always said he felt that he was so much more physically strong that he was able to put it on him, and he knew he could walk him down and knock him out in 3 rounds, right? Now, theoretically, because of that, mentally, Tyson Fury might seriously undermine Deontay Wilder. He might sit there and think to himself, this guy's a bum. All I've got to do is walk him down. He's too light for me. I'm going to bully him. I'm going to knock him out again. Now, we know from Tyson Fury that he's a sort of guy that if he's not up for a major fight, much like Billy Joe Saunders, if he's not up for a major fight, he can have some slack performances. You know, guys like Otto Wallin, who's underrated. I think Otto Wallin's a good heavyweight. He's not great. He's not elite. He's good. He's in the good category. But many people felt Fury should have had a much easier night. Now, personally, I still feel if you take away the cut, which was bad, Fury still won the fight fairly comfortably. But still, it wasn't a vintage sort of Tyson Fury fight. It's not one of the performances of his career. It's one of the more lackluster performances of his career. If he approaches Deontay Wilder with the mentality of, oh, this guy's a bum, and he's been getting up for AJ, and all of a sudden he's got to fight Deontay Wilder, and he sees him as not a significant threat, and he takes his foot off the pedal slightly, is there a chance here that he is not as up for it and he gets caught? Because one thing's for sure, you can't be making some of the errors you made against Wallin against Deontay Wilder. People seem to forget, even in the second fight, in the first 2 rounds, Deontay Wilder lands 3 right hands, one of them quite flush, and it catches Fury on the side of the head. Now, if that's an inch somewhere else, if it lands, I don't know, directly on the, a bit further back, so it sort of catches at the top back of the head, just behind the ear, where he caught Wilder later on to drop him, or if it catches Fury on the chin, Fury could go to sleep there, and we will never be talking about an undisputed fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Now, another thing to think about is that this is officially the rematch, like I said, because Fury got robbed in that first fight. So if Wilder does catch Fury off guard and knocks him out, there's going to be no rematch clause there. This is the rematch. So then we're going to start talking about Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. What will happen to Tyson Fury? Recently in that video that I did about Hrgovic, and we were talking about how different fighters are looking to Michael Hunter, and how fighters are looking to manufacture routes, and why I could sort of understand to an extent why they do that. I could understand it, but it's not something I want to see as a boxing fan. But I gave the examples of people like Lomachenko, like Rigondeaux, guys who went, the minute they got their first loss, people started, and even prior to that with Rigo, people started to avoid them. There was a narrative of, yeah, they're not that good. And we see now, even in the US, they all talk about the lightweights like Lomachenko doesn't exist. They talk about those 4 American kings. No real shouting for a rematch, even though he was the top 3, top 2, maybe the best pound for pound fighter in the world that lost on points, and nobody's sitting there talking about a rematch. Well, people were riding high. He didn't have the sort of clout, the celebrity clout that Tyson Fury's got. But people were riding as high on Lomachenko in terms of his skill set as they are about Tyson Fury. So don't be baffled if Wilder was to land a right hand from hell, take Tyson Fury out, And then people stop talking about Fury. Like he's not even, like in the industry I'm talking about. Like he's not even there anymore. You know the American press, what they're going to do. Especially the Deontay Wilder type American press. They're going to speak about Deontay Wilder setting things straight. I told you that suit was heavy. He's now adapted with Malik Scott. He's a new fighter. He destroyed Tyson Fury early in the fight. He's now going to take out Anthony Joshua. The whole beef begins between those two. And all of a sudden, Tyson Fury's left on the side of a curb, wondering what on earth happened when he was so close to having an undisputed title fight. Now, don't get me wrong. If they're both up for it and they're both at their best, I believe Tyson Fury knocks out Deontay Wilder again. However, like I said, when you've got that right hand and he's got speed with that, all it takes is one moment, one split second to change the trajectory of an entire fight. The other thing, I know Deontay Wilder's been releasing footage of him working with Malik Scott. And I feel, a lot of people have made the observation that, look, Deontay Wilder knocked out Malik Scott. Is he really going to want someone like that training him? Will he have that same level of respect for him? It depends on how you see it, because look, most trainers tend to be old when they train a fighter, and often they're not as good. Freddie Roach never reached the peak of Manny Pacquiao, right? Roger Mayweather never reached the peak of Floyd Mayweather. So sometimes you're not as good. They wouldn't win in a fight. Roger Mayweather, when he's training Floyd, wouldn't beat Floyd in a fight, and he never did achieve the heights of his career. It doesn't mean he doesn't learn from him. It's more about knowledge and how you translate that knowledge, in my opinion. And if Deontay Wilder's aware of that, there's no reason why that relationship can't work. Now, the problem is Malik Scott and the things he was good at, and maybe the sorts of things he could pass on, I'm not so sure fit with Deontay Wilder's skill set. A lot of people have spoken about the work he's been doing on the pads, and many people have been impressed about, what they've seen. Me, less so. I don't think he looks natural. So when you see him on the pad, I've seen a couple of different clips. One of them, when he's throwing that feint jab, it's an obvious feint to me. He's putting it out, but he's doing it in a way which is obvious. Then he's throwing the jab off of that. A proper feint is where you don't know the difference between whether the jab's coming or not. To me, he's almost lifting his arm. He's almost like making it obvious that he's going to feint. Rather than shoot, he was lifting it and sort of coming down and then shooting afterwards. I think that would be quite easy to read for Fury. But even if he's not reading that easily, one thing I do believe is the problem with Wilder is that he lacks the natural coordination to ever be a guy like Malik Scott. Malik Scott, a lot of people forget about how highly rated a prospect he was and how talented he was. He had very, very good feet and he could move around the ring quickly. And when he was fighting Chisora, I believe he was undefeated, something like 35-0, 34-0, something like that. And people were saying he could be, one of the hopes coming out of the US in the heavyweight division. And he got broken down by Chisora with shots to the body, and he seemed to quit, in my opinion. And that was the first time we ever really saw him quit. But when you really started to, maybe that sowed the seeds for it, but when you really saw his career take a decline is after a reported sparring session with Tyson Fury, where Fury reportedly broke his eardrum. In fact, I think he might have broken both eardrums in that spar. It must have been a hell of a spar. Now, in that spar, Malik Scott was unable to continue after that second round. Now, an eardrum can heal fully. However, there are many people who will take on an injury like that and never recover from it. It's one of those injuries that can continue to cause you problems for the rest of your life, because your ears are the center of the system of your equilibrium, your balance, the system of your balance. So if you've ever had an ear infection, quite a severe ear infection, you'll know that you might get bouts of vertigo where it feels like the room's spinning. Okay, it can really affect, or you get, I don't get this, but I've heard of older people that will get this. If they stand up too quickly, they'll get like a ring in the ears and then they'll get like head rush. I've seen it happen, okay, with some older people, and they look like they're going to fall over. And that's to do with the ear. So basically, Malik Scott was never able to fully recover from that, as far as I understand it. And when you're in there, although he continued to be a good mover, maybe that's what made him gun shy. Okay, so maybe that's what caused the downward trajectory in his career. Or maybe I'm overanalyzing and he just didn't have the heart to push on. Whatever the case may be, he had talent and he could move well. Deontay Wilder might have been many things, and he might have smashed up Malik Scott and early in the fight, and he might destroy him every day of the week and twice on Sundays in a fight. But it doesn't mean that just because you beat someone in a fight, you're better than them at everything. Deontay Wilder will never move like Malik Scott, in my humble opinion. He doesn't have the coordination. When he was coming under on that pad work that we've seen, he's rolling under the shots. I'd noticed a couple of things. Firstly, when he was rolling under, he was leaning forward a little bit too much sometimes. And I wasn't sure if he was taking his eyes off of Malik Scott and just like blindly dipping. But even when he would then come up from under it, the first step was always to readjust his feet. He wasn't coming under and then he'd be up, balanced, ready to counter. So if that was a hook, he wouldn't have come under it and then risen with a hook of his own. He seemed to have been rising up, readjusted, and then ready to go again. You're not going to get that split second against Tyson Fury. We're talking about a real split second. It's not, it's not taking an eon, but that small split second of readjustment for me suggests balance issues. And I've seen him have balance issues in the past. He's not, in my opinion, ever going to be that ballerina type fighter. Why is he preparing at mid-range? Because these are mid-range skills, coming under hooks, looking to counter, when for me, he's never going to be able to compete there. One of the things Tyson Fury does, which is dangerous, but he manages to disguise it very well, and he makes it an effective weapon. Because of that long jab, and those feints, he can disguise himself coming in, and he'll smash your head back with a battering rod of a jab. And then other times he'll feint it, other times he'll come around it to set up another shot. And as a result, you're never quite sure, is he stepping in, is he not stepping in? When he does then step in with that right hand, sometimes the right hand's almost like a wide sort of bowl, that Malinga, the cricketer sort of throws. It's just from the most wild trajectory, and it sort of cups you around the side of your head. And if you lean forward, it can come around the back of your head, and he sort of falls into you, almost like a frontwards headlock. And because he's so big, Fury, when he falls into you to bang into you, rather than him just smothering his own work, he's moving Deontay Wilder's entire body and affecting his construct. So I don't believe Wilder will ever be in a position where he's going to sit there and roll and counter. He'll be getting clattered chest to chest, body to body, and be put off balance. So for me, the best thing that Wilder needs to be doing, in my opinion, my humble opinion, because Malik Scott's got a lot of experience, right? This is just my opinion, is working on releasing that right hand when he's on the back foot. When Fury is going to look to come in like that, for Wilder not to be in such a situation where his entire balance and construct is off because he's worried so much about that jab and the feints, so that he can actually take another half a step back. Often Fury would get you to the ropes by doing this, by the way. But if he hadn't, to take another step back and releasing that right hand. If your back is to the ropes, work on releasing a check left hook and being able to pivot out. In other words, punching off of the back foot. So that if Fury does start to cross his feet, which he can do in this scenario, and you're able to read his entry point, you can punish him for it by making him walk onto a shot. Because if Deontay Wilder doesn't need you to walk onto a right hand, but if you do walk onto a right hand, the fight is over. If he lands flush on your chin and you've walked into what is an already massive right hand. So work on throwing it, not necessarily from a cocked position, shortening it up, but also doing it in a manner where you're moving in a defensive manner. You're fighting off the back foot. These are the things Wilder needs to be working on, in my opinion. So I'm not sitting here telling you if this match happens, if this fight happens again, that Fury's going to get knocked out for sure and we're never going to see AJ Fury. However, don't write him off. It's one shot. Don't assume that this guy, and he landed, like I said, 3 flush right hands on Fury in that second fight. Don't assume that this guy is just going to roll over. He's going to be up for this fight. He's going to want to win it. And he's going to want to throw a spanner in the works. And if he does, the landscape of the heavyweight division is going to change irrevocably. Fury will not get a rematch. Anthony Joshua will not fight Fury for no reason, if that was to be the case. He's going to end up wanting all the belts. He'll go after Deontay Wilder. And I'm sure Wilder will want to take AJ's belts, especially if he's coming off of the confidence of knocking out Fury. We will end up seeing that undisputed fight. So, let me know what you think. What would you do if you're Wilder? If his motives are monetary, it makes sense for him to take step aside money. Imagine he does take 10 million, right? And then he's guaranteed a shot at the rematch. What he would have to put in the contract and negotiate with the WBC, because we know he's got good ties with the WBC, many people accuse him of holding that belt hostage for years, is for him to be allowed to fight anybody he wants while he waits. So don't go and take a massive risk. Fight a good, respectable fighter that you can knock out. Someone who's got a big name, good name maybe, but mobility isn't their best attribute, so that you're going to line up that right hand. There's always a risk in the heavyweight division, but as a wait around fight, that's what he could do. take that guy out, obviously, and then be ready to fight the winner of the rematch. So if it was to happen in August, make sure that then you've got the second fight in December. Well, then you've got Deontay Wilder waiting in the wings for May next year. Okay, that would be Wilder's smartest move, in my humble opinion. However, if his aim is not monetary and it's legacy, rather than fight the winner of those two, he might think to himself, well, if Fury does win and I beat Fury, I'm still going to be 1-1-1 officially, with most people thinking I won 2 against Fury. I lost 2 against Fury, and I still wouldn't have fought Anthony Joshua. So if and he's getting to an age where he's not going to fight on forever, Deontay Wilder. So if his aim is legacy, then he shouldn't back down with step aside money. He should fight Tyson Fury. If he beats Fury, he then gets a shot at Anthony Joshua. If he beats Fury, he'll believe he can beat AJ. He'll beat AJ too, because although AJ's a lot better at Fury at some things, he's nowhere near as evasive. So he will think to himself, I struggled to detonate that right hand on Fury in the first 2 fights, but I can do it on Anthony Joshua. Well, now all of a sudden, if he comes back and he knocks out Fury and he knocks out Anthony Joshua, well, now you're talking about a great legacy. So it depends on what he wants. If you're Tyson Fury, whatever you do, I think step aside money is your best option. Offer to fight a third fight after the 2 fights against AJ if you come out on top. Whatever you do not underestimate Deontay Wilder and think that it's going to be an easy fight just because the second one was straightforward. Be up for this, as up for it as you were in the second. Is that even possible psychologically? Let me know what you think, guys. Is Deontay Wilder a real threat to Tyson Fury? Are we going to see this fight actually happen, or do you think he'll take step aside money, or will they just win an appeal and we won't have to worry about anything and we'll see the undisputed fight occur? Let me know what you think. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.